I'll be back. No, I bet you didn't think I was going to say that.
Covenant, calling Raven.
Payback time.
Come with me if you want to live.
You just don't turn it off!
The Last Action Hero was released in 1993, directed by John McTiernan, and starring Arnold Schwarzenegger, Austin O'Brien, and Charles Dance. With the help of a magic ticket, a young movie fan is transported into the fictional world of his favorite action movie character. What's happening, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. You are watching Backtrack Cinema, and welcome to my review of The Last Action Hero. The Last Action Hero, I feel like, is one of those forgotten Arnold films. It was a bomb back in the day. $85 million budget, worldwide gross of $137 million. But I think on its opening weekend, it was like a 15 million draw, something like that. It did not do well. Jurassic Park didn't help it either. Jurassic Park was released, and a week later, they released this movie. I think they should have moved this movie later down the road or whatever, but hey. But still, it got a massive following, though, after the fact. And I think it's ahead of its time. This is a very meta movie that's winking at the audience. It knows that it is. It's telling you to have fun with this concept of being inside an action movie. And what a concept. What a great idea. You know, as an action fan myself, as like I could relate to Danny. I was that kid, you know what I mean? So to be able to be put in my favorite action film or something like that, what a cool concept to run with, right? And let's just talk about like Scream for a minute. Scream comes out in 1996. It is very, very successful. I'm not the biggest Scream fan, and I'm a big horror fan. I love slasher movies and all that. I do credit Scream for being very clever, though, in its writing, even though I'm not the biggest fan of it and everything like that. Last Action Hero is my Scream. I've always considered myself a really diehard horror fan until I started talking with the community. And when you start reviewing movies, when you start actually sitting down, talking to people about movies and stuff, and I've been doing this for about 5 years now, you realize what your tastes really are. I'm a horror fan. Don't get me wrong. I really am. I know I'm digressing a bit here, but it's not until I got into the horror community that I realized, yeah, I think I'm not as big as a horror fan as some of the people I know. A lot of people in the community and stuff like that, the passion is just, huge passion for horror. I'm a big action fan, though. I'm a big fan of like the Stallones, the Arnolds, the Chuck Norris. I mean, growing up with these guys and everything like that. So this is my Scream movie. You know what I mean? And so I understand now after watching this and falling in love with this movie, because I didn't like it at the time, and we'll talk more about that. But I understand the love for Scream people have now after giving this a rewatch. I really do. I've shown a new appreciation of like, okay, I get why you guys like this now. I think Scream was more successful too, because I think as horror fans, we have always been self-aware of what's going on. So when Wes Craven gives us this wink to the audience, self-awareness and all that, we're playing into the way we make fun of each other, the way we look at horror movies and everything like that. They're like a lot of those 80s movies we never took seriously anyway. But getting back to The Last Action Hero, yeah, just an amazing wink at the audience, ahead of its time. This was before Scream, and I think it deserves a lot of credit, man, because it does have a really good story that I can really relate to, because I was Danny. You know, this if we run down the story here, this kid Danny, recently his father has died, and so he spends all his time at the movies watching action movies. And Arnold Schwarzenegger is this plays this movie character, Jack Slater, who's this indestructible cop, and this is this kid's hero. This is who he looks up to and dives into to keep him away from the grief he's going through. Kid's got to learn how to face life, really, and they go on to this big adventure when he gets this golden ticket, and he gets put into this action movie with Jack Slater, where it's not Arnold, it's Jack Slater, and then they come back to the real world for the third act. Now, I didn't like this movie at the time. At the time I looked at it, you know, I was 14, 15 at the time. There was nobody bigger than these guys to me. These guys were my freaking heroes. You know, if I got picked on and if I was bullied or if I was not having a good day at school, I'd watch First Blood. I'd watch Commando. I'd watch all Predator. I'd like go in my own world, and these guys just helped me through this times, you know, just all teenager stuff, just all young adult stuff, you know what I mean? Some of us revert to books, some of us, you know, watch action heroes were my guys, right? So completely relate to this kid. And why I didn't like it at the time, I wasn't totally getting it, I think. And to me, it looked like it was just making fun of the people I loved. It was just making fun of the genre I love so much. I looked at it as almost insulting. And so that's how I felt at the time. This rewatch, I haven't watched this in years. You got to keep that in mind. What a clever movie. I think it's brilliant, to be honest with you. Because everything they do in the movie world, when this kid gets into the movie world, he knows everything that's going on. He knows all the tropes. John McTiernan, perfect guy to come in and direct this thing. You know, directing the biggest action movies we've ever seen. Predator, Die Hard, so many movies he's done. Die Hard 3 he came back for. The action, you could do all this over-the-top craziness, 80s stuff because you're winking at the audience. It's supposed to be like that. Endless amount of bullets. Arnold's jumping off rooftops. He never gets hurt. He's indestructible. All this stuff is just really, really awesome in this movie. But I also love when they come around to the third act, they come to the real world. And when he tries this stuff, he gets hurt. That's what's so freaking funny about it. And I like the color texture. When we're in the movie world, it's very colorful, bright. You know what I mean? The characters are just the movie characters, right? Everyone's absolutely gorgeous. Everyone's beautiful. It's just hilarious. And when they come to the real world in New York City, it's grimy and it's dirty and people are out there committing crimes no one cares and all this kind of stuff. That transition is handled so well. You know what I mean? It's just like when they come into the real world, it's like Dorothy coming into Wizard of Oz. You know what I mean? It's just or vice versa. You know what I mean? And so I just think that's awesome. And all the homages, the tidbits you see, are just absolutely hilarious. You got Robert Patrick as T2 in the background. They're going into a police station. You see Sharon Stone as Catherine Chamel from Basic Instinct lighting the smoke. It's just hilarious. You get a cool Lethal Weapon reference, which Shane Black comes in to rewrite this thing. And what a perfect guy to write this, man. He can handle all the themes and the meta, the winking at the audience so well. So good at as a writer for this script. And it's a deconstruction of the 80s action film with all its tropes and all its nuances and all that kind of stuff through this kid. This kid knows everything that's going to happen because he knows the action genre so well, right? And there's so many things you'll get a kick out of, like how they're making fun of themselves, how John McTiernan as the director is making fun of his own movies and Arnold's making fun of himself, and how there's conveniences. How convenient for someone to show up right at this time and stuff like that. And you're just having fun with it, right? But when they go into the real world, it's different, right? But there's also this real Spielberg kind of quality to this movie. The real essence of this movie is this, this kid needs a father figure, and he looks for that father figure in this action hero he loves so much. I think it's really touching because when we get into the movie world, they start having a great dynamic together with this kid Danny and Jack Slater, this action hero, right? And it's very reminiscent. Like if you were to go into your favorite action movie, it's very reminiscent of the Short Round and Indiana Jones. It has that, they're playing off each other and that kind of way, you know what I mean? And that's what the real Spielberg, the real heart of Spielberg, you can feel in this kind of, like, you can tell it was on purpose. There's even a scene where he flies his bike through the air and he's at the moon. He's in the background of the moon and everything like that, ET shot and stuff like that. So that is awesome too. And Bridget Wilson in here, man, I crushed on her bad when I was freaking in high school. Seeing her in Billy Madison and Mortal Kombat as Sonya Blade. And so seeing her in this, she's Jack Slater's daughter. She starts off as this, you think she's this prissy blonde girl. She's gorgeous as fuck in this movie. But she just likes fast cars. She likes weapons. She can fight. She's like the female version of Arnold, right? She's Arnold's daughter. I just thought she was a hilarious character.
Big mistake.
Charles Dance is the villain too. He's like this mix between a James Bond villain and Alan Rickman's villain in Die Hard. You know what I mean? He's kind of a blend of the both, and I think he plays it perfectly. I think he's great in this.
I should tell you that I have killed people smarter and younger than you.
There was a cool concept they could have ran with in a sequel, I think, when this villain is going to all these other movies and bringing characters back and just fucking everything up, you know what I mean? And I think that would have been a cool maybe idea for a show or maybe a sequel that they could have expanded on. But I really love how the movie ends too, where this kid, he has to come back to reality, his world, and Arnold's got to go back to his fantasy world. And something that Arnold realizes is that he's just a made up piece of fiction, that he's not even real, but everything in the movie world he thinks is real. He thinks he's this cop. He thinks he's got this daughter. He realizes that it really deflates him. But when he goes back to his movie world again, he tells the young kid, I need you to stay here in your world and to believe in me. It's that belief in having a hero, man. When we got shit going on, we just want to put on the movie and, just have a hero sometimes. It's good versus evil. It's, having someone to look up to. I mean, totally relatable. This is relatable shit. I think that's why I just love it so much. I think the score is really good too, because it has all the action nuances and all the scores you've heard. But it has this somber score at times too, and then puts this classical music in it, and it just blends it all really nicely. And the rock music, having AC/DC do Big Gun, hearing Megadeth in there. So you get this blend of rock music, classical, and an action score, like your standard kind of action score, and it blends it all well. Just fabulous. I think this is great, man. Only kind of flaw I found, it's kind of a long movie. I like long movies. I know there's a huge debate now. Movies should be shorter. Oh no, I like long movies. But it just depends on execution. And there was a point in the movie where I just started feeling it was just okay. Maybe in the movie world a little too long. You know what I mean? Maybe in that movie world a little too long, because then you got this long third act too of them going back to the real world and stuff like that. Now, it doesn't bother me to the point where I won't, I'm going to skip through scenes or anything. It's just whenever you watch a movie and you start feeling the pacing, when you start feeling, okay, I think we can get to things a little quicker. You're either not totally invested in the characters, or it's just starting to become a little stale and everything. There's just a little section that happens in the movie world a bit, where I just felt like, okay, you probably could have trimmed 15 minutes off this movie, I think, and still been really, really satisfied. You know what I mean? So that's the only real nitpick I have. I'm not the kind of channel, guys, that's going to rip into every movie. If that doesn't make me a good critic, I'm not a good critic, or I'm not a good reviewer, I guess. I really like the art of film. I really like the positives, and I really, really dug this movie, and I just like to talk about all the cool stuff with it. You know what I mean? Movies are about feelings and how you relate to things, and I just really felt a lot with this movie, especially as an adult now and looking back at this kid. It's like looking back at myself in a lot of ways. You know what I mean? So totally relatable. Next time you get into an Arnold move, put on some Last Action Hero, give it a shot. I think you'll really dig this one. It's a great time at the movies. And don't forget your golden ticket. I'm going to give The Last Action Hero from 1993 a B+. What about you guys? What do you think of The Last Action Hero? Let me know in the comments. We'll have a great discussion on The Last Action Hero, talking Arnold, all that stuff. There's your next video to watch. Go down the rabbit hole, as I always say. My name is Jason. You're watching Backtrack Cinema. I'll see you next time, and I'll see you in the movies. Cheers.